This is week 7 for the Politics of Africa Journal about the Gambia. This week's about the democratic reform and strengths and weaknesses of democracy. So to start off, I'd like to talk about regime. So a democratic regime is one where the citizens have basic rights of open association, expression, and the ability to change the government through some sort of electoral process. As opposed to an authoritarian regime is lacking democratic characteristics described above, ruled by a single leader or group of leaders. So the Gambia really has had an authoritarian regime for the large part. The first two presidents came in essentially in a democratic manner, but did not stay like that. And I think the Gambia needs to undergo regime change, the process by which one regime is transformed to another. Authoritarian to democratic is really what I would like to see in the Gambia, because there really has been a lot of push for democratization and democratic consolidation has really been, the Gambia has really struggled to do that. It's a very incomplete democratic consolidation, and then thus the Gambia really hasn't been able to fully push forward into a democratic state. They failed again many times by presidents coming in and promising to democratize the Gambia, but then never fulfilling that promise. That's first seen by President Jawara, who again came in an election and then stayed for 20 years an authoritarian leader. He was taken over by a coup, and President Jammeh again came in, won an election, promised to keep it democratic, although he did continually win elections after he took over and really took power, but they weren't the fairest and free elections. They had a lot of corruption regarding them and a lot of killing of political opponents and jailing of opposition. And I think in that way, the Gambia struggled. But the last election, he lost, and eventually he accepted the loss. And now there's a new president who promises the democratization of the Gambia. I think a lot of the pressure for democratization is coming from both internal and external factors. Externally, a lot of foreign aid wants democratization to occur in order for the country to receive the aid, and so thus the Gambia has been pushed forward by that aid. But also internally, the people really want a democracy, and so I think eventually, hopefully, the Gambia will be able to achieve that. Current government is technically a multi-party republic under the Constitution ratified in 1996. The president has a 5-year term, appoints the vice president and cabinet members, legislative powers held by the National Assembly, has the 53 elected members who serve 5-year terms, and a lot of them are really chosen by the president. So the Gambia has a ways to go, but it has these structures set in place that will eventually allow it to become a strong democracy. But I think there needs to be more policy put into place to ensure that. There's a lot of local governance as well in the Gambia because of the indirect rule that the British set up. And so the local leaders are very powerful in local politics and very influential. And I think the final step for really bringing together the Gambian people to force in democracy is that it needs to have a stronger civil society and a stronger economy. By having stronger civil societies, really people can form together and work for and against the government and pushing it towards democratization. And having a stable economy really allows for democratization to occur because the people are more willing to participate in political activity if the economy is prosperous and they're doing well, and they're not just blaming democracy for what's happening. But I think it's going to be tough to form a stable economy. But I think, again, I really think the Gambia can push forward and become a democratic state. Thank you.